Today's episode of the One Piece Podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. You could support the One Piece Podcast by going to patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. And in the process, you could get cool swag like decals, t-shirts, and more. Plus access to our entire library. That is over 450 episodes for just $3 a month. Plus we have exclusives with all your favorite guests, outtakes, and a lot more. So again, go to patreon.com/One Piece Podcast and support your local One Piece podcast. Let's get on with the show. This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 457 for the week of Monday, February 20th, 2017. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And on today's show, very special guest, translator for One Piece in Weekly Shonen Jump. It's Stephen Paul. How's it going, Stephen?
Hey, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm
not feeling too bad about the manga being off next week, because whenever you end on a nice emotional moment rather than a cliffhanger, it just kind of builds the expectation, the anticipation in a very healthy way, I feel like.
Oh, spoilers, Stephen. We haven't even done the recap yet. Let's take it one step.
The news has only been on our website for a while.
No, not about that, about how the chapter ends this week, but we'll talk about that in our manga recap. I also want to introduce, though, our next guest, and that is YouTube sensation Roger Space joining us again. How's it going?
Things are going really good right now. New YouTube channel's launching. It's President's Day, so I have something to take my mind off of what's going on in the real world. And
You say new YouTube channel, but what's it called?
Game and Vlog. So it's
All
gaming
right.
and vlogs. Yeah.
It's hard for people to subscribe it when they don't know what it is.
That's true. That is true. Well, it's linked to my main channel. So it's like people have been telling me for a long time that they wanted me to break off like the vlogs and the gaming content from the One Piece stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll finally make a second channel, and it's doing well. So
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah. I also want to introduce our editorial writer. Jill is with us today. How's it going, Jill?
Hi, everyone. We survived Storm Lucifer here
Oh my
over
God.
in SoCal.
Was that the name of it?
The official name.
That was the
Storm
official name.
Lucifer.
From the Weather Channel?
Official made up by Weather Channel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh no, it rained.
California Storm Lucifer.
Is that technically a winter? Well, whatever. I'm not going to talk about this. We always talk about California rain at the top of every show. I'm stopping
Because it never rained, and now we can't get it to stop.
right.
This is what you asked for.
Someone left the faucet on. And last but certainly not least, our merchandise reporter Kelly is with us. How's it going, Kelly?
Going great. Hi, everybody. It was a good weekend for figure releases. We had Wonderfest on Sunday, so there was a lot of new merchandise coming out.
You might as well let us know, like, what's some of the cool stuff that people will be able to buy at some point in the future.
So for One Piece, you've got two new variable action heroes. One is Perona and a pre-time skip Zoro. And they showed colored versions of two more of the Bikini Girls, Khalifa and that new Nami one.
I saw that Khalifa one. That is lewd.
It's incredibly lewd. And the Nami one is straight from the summer poster from last year.
Oh, the one where her arm's all wonky?
Yeah, the one where she's pouring the water in her mouth.
The boom mic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that
Yes,
one.
the boom mic.
Yep, that one.
Yeah, that's the part about it. Thank you, Kelly. And any other cool stuff?
Oh, I saw that there was a figure of Chaton, Vice Admiral Tokikake. Joey was very excited.
Yep.
Oh,
Still
yeah, I
no
did
Jack,
see
though. Still no Jack.
Not yet.
The entire internet will know when there is a Jack figurine because Roger will yell it from a mountaintop, which is
Look.
on Twitter, I guess.
Roger, buy like a plushie of just a woolly mammoth at the Natural History Museum, sew some pigtails on it, and you've got a Jack figure.
Hey, in 2 years, I'll be able to have a pet baby woolly mammoth because apparently they're splicing mammoth genes in the Asian elephants. This is a true story. Harvard scientists are working on it right now.
You heard it here first on the One Piece podcast, where we give you gene splicing information. So on today's show, we have our manga recap of chapter 856, Liar. We also have our anime recap for episode, is this 777? Is this the big one? I think it is. Where we see a lot of old familiar characters, so it gets good.
Well, a few of them.
I said characters. It's plural. Isn't that enough for you, Ed?
Yeah, but it's not really a lot of them. It's mostly just one.
Before we get started, though, there is some news that I want to talk about, especially if you are in North America, and that is that the Funimation home video release has been announced for One Piece Film Gold and One Piece Heart of Gold, available separately. But if you get Film Gold now, if you pre-order it on Funimation's site, you get 3 of the casino chips, the poker chips, whatever you'd like to call them. So I, of course, did do that because I want those. Those are cool. But yeah, I'm super excited for that. And Ed, that means we could hopefully do our commentary around that time if we figure out an opportunity for all of us to be in the same room to do that, which is always the challenge.
Or at least half of us in one place like we did with the last one.
Yes. Let's hope. And Collection 19 is also arriving, and that's all going to be in May, which is around our 8th anniversary for this podcast, which is crazy to think about. So, look for all of those coming out in May. I am really hoping to hear some Season 9 news, because I was just reading through the pre-time skip stuff, and I should probably watch through it. But I just am waiting for that news in particular. But we don't know anything, so stop asking us.
I don't mind because I'm still dilly-dallying getting through Season 8 stuff because I've been distracted by all sorts of new anime and my year-long film watching project that I'm doing. So I have plenty of time to watch it.
And if you also want some other anime news, the new episode titles for the upcoming episodes are on our website, as well as the voice actor who is voicing Adult Stelly, which I know everyone is on the edge of their seat about. That's at OnePiecePodcast.com, and but also in other places at OnePiecePodcast.com. So please check that out. I think with that out of the way, we could get into the show. Ready, guys?
Yes.
This is the manga recap for chapter 856, Wire. Ed, tell me the truth. What's going on this front page?
Well, you know how we were talking the last couple of weeks about how we were kind of ready for Oda to start a new cover story? If he keeps like this, I'm kind of happy with what he's doing at the moment, because this is Frankie giving a crab a mecha body to protect it from a bullying monkey. This is what I want Oda to be doing.
Exclusively this.
Yes. There's a happy bee and a chestnut with a smiley face, and this is
what that is. I thought it was a slime from Dragon Quest.
No, it's a chestnut.
Chestnut.
Yeah, like Frieza's shitty little brother, Kuriza. He's a chestnut head.
That's right.
What the hell are those others? Yeah, what are these things?
I don't know.
Is that a cloud or a rock or
Oda's been infected. There's just going to be homies in every piece of One Piece from now on.
You know, there are worse things. Yeah.
There's a homie in the bottom right corner that looks like it says USSR on him. I'm like, what the heck is that about?
I think that's US 9. Yeah.
Or 5, I'm not sure.
Well,
what
that
is
was
that?
Battle Crab 9.
Yeah.
And then Battle Frankie 37, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
it took him 9 tries to get it right.
I want to see the first 8.
Why does the monkey look like he came from Family Guy? He's stupid
from
monkey.
Capone's crew, actually, I think.
That's true.
Up in the tomato tree or something? I don't know. Tomatoes don't grow on trees. It's an orange tree, probably. I don't know. Fuck.
No, I like it. Tomato tree. It's the tomato tree. The monkey is throwing tomatoes on top of the tomato tree on the crab, who's in a robot, who's using its 9th version.
Frankie, thumbs up!
And then there's Jerry Seinfeld as a bee in the corner. I mean, this is just perfect. Yeah.
I gotta say, I love that new trend of YouTube videos where it's B-movie, but, and then something else. I think it's the best.
Anyway, notice...
Did you mention who this came from? Our good friend?
Noda Skywalker from Osaka. Follow them on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I saw on AP that there was a false rumor that Noda Skywalker is actually Greg, which was actually, the rumor came from our podcast where we jokingly said, oh yeah, Notice Skywalker is totally Greg, or something along those lines. And then
Never mind that Greg lives out in the middle of nowhere in a cornfield somewhere, not in Osaka.
I think it's a rice field technically, but
Yeah.
and then he sarcastically commented on Twitter, yeah, I'm totally Notice Skywalker, and that's how it was sourced, which is just the best circular. I just closed that circle here today. It is not Greg. He is it's his own person. But I think with Notice Skywalker's probably weirdest entry out of the way, we could probably get into the chapter, Ed.
Sure. In the Mirror World. That's where we start. But the reunited crew they're surprised that, you don't have any information for us about Luffy or Sanji? They've been talking to the mirrors, you see. And the mirrors reply, no, they're not here. It's been a while since they passed. They're not even in Sanji's room, as Carrot hopefully holds up her drawing of Bishonen Straw Hats. Oh, Carrot. But apparently there's some weirdo sleeping in Sanji's bed. At least the mirrors understand that he is a weirdo, in fact.
I think the weirdo is in the background there because Brook looks like he's just wearing a sack tied around his neck or something.
Well, is that no? Because the Terra looking thing was actually stayed with Big Mom. So yeah, it kind of looks like he's taken that same costume. But
It's a nightgown.
yeah, Nami's got an idea. If they're not in the castle, she's thinking something up. So they'll be outside because there aren't any mirrors, and they might be at the place where Luffy and Sanji fought this morning, which sends Chopper into a spiral of despair. What? They had a fight? Luffy and Sanji? Jinbei sort of calms things down. Like, given his place in the Vinsmoke family, Sanji must have had a very good reason to come here. He will not be easy to bring back, I suspect. Jinbei hasn't been around this crew enough to really understand. But
Well, it hasn't been easy. It's just we've already gone through most of the steps already.
Right.
To be fair.
I forgot that they fought this morning.
Mhm.
Like that threw me for a loop when I read that.
Yeah, it's a short period of time.
But it doesn't feel as long as Dressrosa felt in that one
No,
day.
not at all. No.
Wow.
So, Jinbei's stating the obvious. If we're going to retrieve him, we should do it soon. And also, I was going to say this once everyone was together, but I might as well do it now. As a matter of fact, when the ceremony gets going tomorrow, it'll be anything but ordinary. What?
Nami needs to tuck in her lip there before a bird comes and lands on it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, she might get caught on a
Nami's
tripwire. So yeah, he continues. You came here with Peckham's, didn't you? Oh, right, Peckham's. Is he all right? We got separated from
We
him.
haven't seen him the entire arc. Maybe we should check in on that.
I can tell you now that he is fine. Seriously? Okay. But there was a conspiratorial plot that nearly succeeded in having him fed to the sharks.
Literally.
If we hadn't been aware of it, he would be dead right now. And Pedro is sort of staring slack-jawed blankly. He's very shocked.
Remember they have a relationship of some sort, Pedro.
Right. They were
Yeah.
likely crewmates in the past.
So this wasn't necessarily that hard to predict, but
No.
we totally nailed this one right about
Yes.
Jinbei
Oh,
having
yeah.
saved Peckham's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we said that right away. You don't get shot in One Piece and die. It doesn't happen. Even Whitebeard didn't really die just from the gunshots.
Even when you're
excuse me,
thrown to the
Mr.
sharks.
11?
Wait, what, Jill?
Mr. 11, God, Zach, come on.
There's no confirmation. Watch as Mr. 11 strolls by at the very end of the series. Hey, everyone, I'm fine. I'm Mr. 11. Roger, please.
Well, speaking of characters who probably won't die, but probably should die, we get cut to Sweet City. So it's raining still outside, and gunshots. We hear the dog barking that was trying to get the bento box to some Sanji, and it says, "Dunno, it's hard to hear through the rain. I do hear a barking, though. Drip, drip, bing. Damn it. Huff, huff. Curse them." And we see Bobbin the Bloody fall to the ground in the rain, looking pathetic, looking like a scrub. I hate you, Bobbin. I hate this guy. I want him to die. And
Well,
also, I want to.
I don't want no scrubs.
Bobbin's radio waves have been cut short today, and
What am I
wanna
supposed
point
to
out-
listen to in the morning? Oh.
I got to point out the shadows that we just get a very brief glimpse of right before Bobbin falls to the ground bloodied. And I'm pretty sure the guys who's basically screwed up Bobbin were maybe Capone and his crew, but we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. Anyway.
It's probably Mr. 11.
Oh, shit, he's come back for his revenge.
It's Mr. Eleven's revenge.
So cut to the guest room, the 6th floor bomb, and we've got all the Vince Smokes, except for Reiju, drinking together along with all the barmaids. And I think that's one of the barmaids saying, "Are you people monsters?" with a little heart, because they just cannot hold their liquor. And fun fact, for those of you guys listening, 2 of us may or may not be having some liquor of our own right now as we're reading through this manga recap. So
Guess which 2, and you win
Guess-
absolutely nothing.
So Yonji goes, pathetic. How does a barmaid lose in a drinking contest? If they were going to send us women, I wish they'd have sent us that one on Sanji's crew. Oh yeah, the one named Nami? I like a nice headstrong girl. I hear they got a prisoner. Maybe we can negotiate a trade tomorrow. So Ichiji and Niji and Yonji, they're all thinking with their PPs instead. And exactly. Now that Bobbin is dead, they need somebody else to take hold of that new catchphrase.
That is not an effect.
None of that is. None of that is.
No spreading of rumors.
No. By the way, guys, have you heard? Greg is Noda Skywalker. So finally we get Judge drinking this big pint of something, and he says, "Now, let's not get overboard with drinks. The real party will be tomorrow night."
And he puts down his barrel. He's not going overboard with his barrel of booze. And he's in a triumphant mood here. He's like, "Oh, we'll have Big Mom behind us. Jirma is going to rule North Blue again. Tomorrow is just the very first day of celebration." Turns out that failure did have his uses after all. And all the brothers are just yucking it up over this. Yonji is pleased that they used him as bait, and they actually caught they caught a real big one. Let's see if it gets away. Niji is he's like, yeah, they're gonna see Big Mom's flag on our fleet. That everyone is just gonna turn and run. Ichiji says it's gonna be easier than ever to conquer the seas. So we should thank Sanji, and they convene a toast here to our failure, to our usefully useless brother. Cheers. And meanwhile, some homies. One of the barrels is a homie, and there's a heart on the wall that is clearly a homie as well. And they are listening in on everything going on with the Vin Smokes here, which is definitely, again, that's another thing that I think we predicted a while back, like when we were trying to figure out how Pudding or how various parts of the Big Mom crew knew about the Straw Hats, that it was the homies just sort of listening in on everything, and this would seem to suggest that definitely happens.
Those 2 are especially creepy, I think. It's worth noting.
Yeah.
They're very happy.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Next year on Valentine's Day, send your Valentine a creepy living heart in the wall.
Calm down, Law.
And then we go right outside the room, and we see that the as they're carrying on inside, all the chest peacekeepers are standing guard, and this door seems especially creepy. He kind of has like a little Walt Disney mustache or something, or a Dolly, yeah, there you go. He looks very wobbly. So one of the peacekeepers here is on the transponder snail with Montdor, as we find out, and Montdor is giving the order not to let anyone come into contact with the Vin Smokes until the tea party. And this guy here, who has his eyes completely covered, says, "Understood." And we also have guards on the medical room where Lady Reiju is located. So they got it all locked down. all that's left is to count down the minutes until they meet their fate with our diabolical plan. And Montour is like, don't say it out loud, you clown. No, that's not
Clown.
I don't know.
He's
I mean, that's
the
what
clown.
villains do.
Oh.
But
No, clown.
Yeah.
You're the clown.
and apparently the night is proceeding now because we can see that not only is Big Mom still asleep with the little skeleton in her hands, that Judge is now asleep as well. So the Vinsmokes are done.
I now
carousing.
realize why the top is silhouetted like that, because we have not yet seen that part of his face.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He's
I
good.
read this earlier and it did not occur to me, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's why.
Or it's going to be like Doflamingo, and it's just going to be a huge tease all the way to the end.
That irritates.
That's true.
That irritates the crap out of me.
I hold to the fact, though, I think Doflamingo is blind in his right eye. I don't know when that's going to come up, but there are too many hints in the story, like Sanji hitting him from that one side, and I'm putting money on it. Even if it's like 10, 20 years from now, we find this out.
I'll take that. I'll take that back.
Doflamingo is blind in his right eye.
That was
Trust me.
the secret weakness is bad depth perception. That's how Luffy got him.
Amazing.
He's the Leela of the One Piece world. Yeah, please go ahead.
But Reiju is still awake, and she is looking pensive in the medical room, thinking about stuff.
Kelly.
Meanwhile, outside of town, we have Sanji staring at a very dried up Luffy, and it's still raining, and we hear tick tick, which I first thought was his lighter, but it probably isn't.
It's meant to be Luffy's nose twitching.
Got it.
Yeah.
So he's sniffing, and suddenly eyes open up, and we got Hanji, because he's so dried up he can't speak at this point. And Sanji is, I didn't tell you to wait. And we have a flashback to the fight, and Luffy laughing. And if you can eat this, eat. And a dried out Luffy saying, Foog. Which made me laugh.
I love Foog.
That's a great episode title right there.
Food is my favorite food.
What's your favorite food?
And as he's getting ready to devour everything, he says, I dropped it along the way, so it's all crushed, and it got rained on, so I'm sure it's terrible, which is an homage to him making lunch for his mom back when he was a little kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I almost didn't put that together at first, except for the picture of the food looking really gross and like having the same kind of art effect around it.
Yeah.
And that was very like, oh yeah, I remember that for sure.
Yeah, all the fish heads in particular really sticking out at weird angles.
This one has a fish head sticking out as well.
Yeah, that's what I kind of, because it reminded me of the weird banana fish thing he made for his mother.
It's funny, too, because I remember when we first saw this bento box, I remember one fish being on the very bottom, and I don't remember two fishes being in there. So why are there two fish heads, but there was only one fish on the bottom of the box? How did he get a second fish head?
Banana fish. Really good.
I'm just going to assume it's hidden in a sandwich somewhere.
Chill. Go for it.
And so Luffy just starts eating the bento as Sanji is watching while he's turned away. And Luffy just keeps eating and chewing, and then finally he shouts, "That's good!" And Sanji is shocked, even though he shouldn't be, because it's Luffy. And he goes on, "The food's the best. It's so good." And he just keeps eating and eating as Sanji's just quiet over there in the corner. Not facing him, but paying attention to everything. And then Luffy notices this got all of our favorites in one box. It's tasty. And then we see Sanji in the rain, basically just so distraught because Luffy is saying that he loves this food when Sanji knows it's probably the worst thing he's made since he was a child. He calls him a liar. And then we get little transition panels into Luffy having finished the bento and throwing it aside, and kind of the way that he was in Alabasta right after he was shriveled up when he got the big thing of water, or the drink of water. That was good. I nearly shriveled up there. And then Sanji, who has been basically silent the whole time, tells him that if he's done, just leave.
And Luffy says, "What do you mean? Come with me. Do you remember me, coming here to get you?" He doesn't say that, but anyway, it's time for some counting. So first, Sanji explains the captain of his own ship came all the way to track him down, and in response, Sanji just insulted him and hurt him to the best of his ability, despite no resistance from Luffy whatsoever. So, therefore, he cannot go back to the ship. 2, Sanji holds up his hand and says, "The old fart who saved my life." And the home, wasn't it Crap Geezer or something like
Crap
that?
Geezer, yeah.
Did he use the same? He didn't use the same term.
I should have looked that up. I should have checked, but
Well, there's always
I don't
the
know.
volume.
Yeah, that's
You didn't
true.
like Crap Geezer?
But it just sounds so dumb. I'm sorry.
You heard it
Fart
here
is much
first.
better.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously you were not translating it back then. So.
No.
Well, we could go back and change old fart. Just when you read the early volumes, just replace it with old fart the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyway, who saved his life and the home where he was raised, Baratier. He's being held hostage in case he doesn't play along. Therefore, I can't escape from this wedding. Third, and finally, as we know the rule of threes, guys, the evil family he was raised into is walking into Big Mom's trap to be slaughtered in just a matter of hours.
What's wrong with that?
Well, they're the scum of the earth, Ed, and he doesn't care about them, and he doesn't owe them anything, but he still can't bring himself to abandon them to their fate and run away. And we see Sanji stand up from... He takes his butt off the Rook soldier to stand up, I should mention. I'm sorry to ruin this beautiful moment, but I just noticed he was sitting on a peacekeeper this entire time.
On this guy's head.
On his head! I mean, did he deserve that? Probably. I don't know. Is he a real person? I also don't know the answer to that. Anyway.
What if Sanji farted on that guy right when he said
Old
that
fart.
Zep was an old fart? Yeah.
To demonstrate he farts. It's like that. That's what he's like. But I love him. I love him just like I love my farts. Anyway, Kelly.
For these 3 reasons, I cannot return with the rest of you. Now that you see my side, just get out of here. And meanwhile, Luffy stood up and is approaching Sanji. And we just have a gigantic thwack across the face.
It's remarkable how much this reminds me of a scene that we see replayed in the anime this week, recapped from hundreds of episodes ago.
With Vivi?
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is
I
that
really
a
like-
slap or a punch? That's a punch, right?
Thwack sounds more like a.
I think
Slap
it's
to
a
me.
punch if you look at his hand in the back,
Oh, yeah.
though.
That's
It's a
His
punch.
fist.
Next panel, you can see it.
Yeah.
The imprint on
The,
his face looks punch-like. Anyway, please, Stephen, go.
Yeah, for one thing, I really like the sort of dynamism of the like he clearly took out a real thick pen and was using a lot of real scratchy lines for this. I did think it was kind of an interesting. I feel like this was a bit of an Easter egg that Luffy extends his arm, so his punching arm is all extended like that, and it's also making a 3. Which Sanji, which is interesting. Although to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, "Huh, that looks like a 3, like Mr. 3."
4 exclamation points though. It's big.
Yeah,
Like the whole layout of this 2 pages is great. It starts from like the above shot and then close up on Sanji, then a shot of Luffy from at ground level, and then like another close up, and just then he like goes into the action with it. I love that. It sort of builds a whole. Oda can get a little talky. He does a lot of talking bubbles, but he can really shine when he only shows. He minimizes the talking and just shows through action.
And then we see Sanji crashing into all of these unconscious soldiers and what looks like maybe a tree in the background as well.
Kingbound.
Kingbound.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? That's right. He was over there. And Sanji is, coughing and wheezing, and Luffy's just standing there and finally yells, "Tell me how you really feel," and we have the done.
Stephen, finish us off.
And Sanji doesn't reply at first. He just staring back at Luffy. He's all bloodied and, the shading all over his face. And, Luffy's looking at him furious. He's still got the missing tooth. And then we have this some great little insert panels of, him thinking of just sort of general scenes on the ship with, Luffy say, Sanji, let's eat. And you see Zoro is annoyed, like, get cooking already. And Sanji starts tearing up, which is, I thought that was really cool that he specifically included a comment from Zoro, like, just to point out that, they're big rivals, but, in this moment where, Sanji's kind of loyalties are conflicted, maybe not the loyalties in his heart, but like what he thinks he needs to do are more conflicted than ever, that even Zoro is a source of fondness for him.
Well, they're real brothers, in the traditional sense, and not in the douchey sense, like his actual brothers.
It's also going to be used as fodder to make a lot of fan fictions out there pretty canon. So
very nice. And then he's yelling at who made off with the food, while obviously the culprit trio, the guys who are always behind all this stuff, Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper, are holding their mouths shut with their cheeks stuffed with food, and Frankie's just yucking it up. And then contrast that to the dismissive, uncaring expressions of Judge, and then Big Mom, and these people who he's found himself stuck with now. And finally, he admits, Luffy, I want to go back to the Sunny, and the waterworks are going. He's holding his face with anguish. And Luffy is looking on. I really like this expression on Luffy's face. It's sort of like, concern, sympathy, lots of different emotions going on there, which is a rare, I think, type of complexity for Luffy. And Sanji says, I don't have the guts to run away. I can't abandon this. He can't do anything about it because he knows that this is beyond him alone. And yet, he can't just abandon these people, even though they are scumbags. And Luffy just kind of sums it up. He's like, yeah, no, exactly. That's who you are. That's what you would do. And Sanji looks up in like stunned surprise, like he was not expecting to hear that. And then Luffy says, but you've got us, so let's crash this wedding. And gives him a big smile, and One Piece will be off next week. Boo.
You ruined that great moment there, Stephen, by reading it.
I love that panel of Sanji with him crying, but it also shows the camera angle is from above him. It sort of puts him like the weaker position. It sort of emphasizes what he's saying in the panel. I love that.
Well, it's from Luffy's point of view. It's one of those.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of that in One Piece in general. Oh, we're looking from Luffy's point of view, and I really like that here. And it's also very reminiscent of the big emotional scene in Enies Lobby with Robin, or Arlong Park with Nami. So I think this is. It's up to, I guess, you, the listener, to say whether it had the same emotional impact as those scenes did with you. But let's go around the horn. Jill, what did you think of this chapter? We'll start with you.
Well, I literally shed a tear as we went through these pages. So I'm such a sucker for these emotional chapters. I really liked it. I enjoyed that almost all of the focus was on Luffy and Sanji, that we only got a bit of the side, because I think that was really important this chapter. To be realistically, not a ton happened, but we really got a new direction, because we all knew that the wedding crash was going to happen, but to have it confirmed that that's the new path that they're taking, even though they have Sanji back, because they could just leave, honestly. Like, all they have to do is join up with each other, and the crews could leave. But that's not One Piece, and that's clearly not where we're going. The only thing that this chapter made me really, really regret that Oda decided to split up the crew. It was just those two panels of the Sanji's memories with the crew makes me really wish that they were all here to join in on taking him back, because I don't, it's because, like you said, it's reminiscent of Robin, and I just feel like them all being here would be really important.
Any other thoughts, Jill, or that's sums it up?
I'm good.
Okay, Kelly, what did you think?
So I too shed a tear or two, or maybe 20. I've been waiting for that conversation with Luffy and Sanji for a long time, so I found that to be very satisfying. I really liked the parallels with delivering the food to Luffy and delivering the food to his mother. And even though not a lot happened, I did think sort of planting those seeds with the conspiracy, as well as probably Capone killing Bobbin or injuring Bobbin since no one dies, was really, really interesting. And it made me think back to a comment that, was it Vito? Is that the member of Capone's crew?
Yeah, with
Is
the
it
big
Vito?
hands and the big tongue.
When he whispered in his ears, because it seemed like Sanji was pretty surprised when they found out about the Baratier from his father. So I'm wondering if any sort of weird conspiracy stuff, if he said anything to Sanji at that point to make him go. And I'm wondering if it wasn't just the immediate danger of his crew that made him go.
I still think it's Zeph, but I guess we'll find out if that's ever mentioned again at some point.
Because he just seemed so surprised when his father mentioned it about Zeph.
Roger, what did you think of this chapter?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jill. I feel like it would have had more of an impact for me if the whole crew was here. Because I liked it. I mean, I thought it was really well done, and I think it's a beautifully drawn chapter. I think that's one thing that Oda's been doing awesome this arc, is like his art has just been completely on point, and this chapter's no exception. But yeah, I didn't have the same emotional impact. I didn't feel the same emotional impact from this as I did from like Robin's "I Want to Live" speech, or even the moment with Nami in Arlong Park. And I think the other reason why I feel that way is because I think we all knew that it was going to get to this point about 3-4 chapters ago. We knew it was inevitable that this scene was going to happen with Luffy and Sanji at the same spot where they fought, and then him giving in the bento box. And so because I knew it was coming, it didn't really leave that much of an impact with me, but I still loved it. I mean, I still think it's a really quality chapter. And yeah, to then go along with what Kelly was saying is I'm really interested in finding out how Capone is going to fit into all of this at the ending, because he has been this guy behind the scenes, and it's been telegraphed all the way back when Peckham said, "You don't underestimate Mama." Like, don't underestimate her. And Capone just did it anyway and killed Peckham's. And here we are. Clearly, Peckham's is alive. You know, right as rain, Jinbei saved him. And so it's going to be funny, I think, when we get to the wedding. And if Peckham's is at the wedding, too, maybe Peckham's sees Capone and Capone realizes, oh, my God, I really can't stop Big Mom. Like, you're standing right here. I thought I fed you to the sharks. What's going on? And, yeah, I also want to know what angle he's going for. Like, I mean, we don't know for a fact that he attacked Bobbin, but we could pretty safely assume that was probably Capone.
Oh, so you're the guy with the theories. Come on, man.
No, I mean, Well, I have a whole theory about how the wedding is going to go down now after this chapter, but I'm not going to talk about it here because I want to flesh it out and I want to research it more. So there's a shout out if you guys want to go watch my channel on Wednesday. I will have a theory video up about the wedding. But
good shit.
Hey, no, but overall, I thought it was a great chapter, and yeah, I'm excited to see where the story goes from here on out.
Steven.
Yeah, I guess to follow up on the Bobbin scene, that it was. I thought it was really cool. Initially, when I first saw it, I figured, okay, well, you know, a group of figures, so it's not just one. And I initially had thought, oh, it must be Capone and some other, like, otherwise non-Capone related figures, because, you know, I was sort of thinking of him like he carries around all of his muscle inside of him with his powers. But then it did occur to me that, you know, he does have those characters like Vito and Gotti, who are sort of like, you know, right-hand men in a way. And so I guess that would make sense. I feel like that's maybe the most typical answer. I really like to find out that this is like some more wide-ranging conspiracy, like maybe involving some of Big Mom's children, that, you know, he can turn into, you know, somewhat of a CP9 moment where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they were involved, or he or she was involved.
I could definitely
most likely
see that here.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You know, he made it vague enough, but it does seem most likely this is just Capone's crew. Still interesting, like, what are they up to? But yeah, well, we'll find out about that, I guess. And as far as the rest of the chapter is pretty much just all Luffy and Sanji, and I would say that he executed it really well. It's something that I have found myself saying on a number of other points in this arc, is that the concept of Sanji being kind of estranged from the crew and needing to be convinced that what he's doing is a mistake, or is not showing enough faith in the crew or whatever, is not a particularly new story development in One Piece. And so it's hard for me at least, to be like super impressed, or just to kind of really feel it in my gut. I'm more kind of appreciating it on a just in terms of the way that he's maneuvering the story together and the way that he's executing it. I feel like he's doing a really good job. It's just hard. And the thing is, like, I think in this chapter too, especially with the scenes with all the counting up to 3, Sanji basically explaining all of his stuff. So if you do a comparison to what the rationale behind Robin's conflict during Enies Lobby in Water 7, her deal was that, like, she had just joined the crew. She went on one big adventure with them, and was starting to feel like a part of the group, and then kind of came back to reality. And so she was sort of like just coming out of her shell, and then was reminded of all this stuff that she's lived with all of her life, and was horrible. And so she really had not become a true Straw Hat until that moment that she fully accepted them and put her faith in them. Sanji, that obviously does not apply to him, because he's been a true Straw Hat ever since the Baratier. And so I feel like by kind of going through the logic of Sanji's thought process and kind of tying that to his character of not being able to abandon someone in need, it was sort of like it gave a different rationale for his decision that ended up in the same place that Robin's scene did.
And I gotta sort of, as a jump off from that point, I wanted to say that, like, he had his original rationale where he was sort of deluding himself into thinking that maybe a life with pudding was possible, but that was taken out from under him at the same moment that this other rationale was sort of brought in, where he does feel like he has to protect his family because they said they're going to destroy his family. And those two things, that switch happened at the same time in the same conversation. So he's been going through a lot lately.
Yeah. But I just meant that it's like, I think Oda did, kind of do his homework as far as kind of packaging this and selling it as like, okay, you can pick it apart and say like, okay, it isn't exactly the same as the way that, they had to win Robin back, but it's still, it ends up in the same place, which is, having to kind of get to that emotional breakdown point and to admit, to be honest to yourself, okay, I can't do that. I want to go back. I don't want to do this. And, I want to live for Robin, or in Sanji's case, yes, I want to go back to the Sunny. And I think that's one of the problems with it, as far as being as effective as it possibly could be as a story development, is that, there is a lot of it that we have seen before. So that's my devil's advocate argument for this chapter.
Ed, what did you think?
I enjoyed this chapter a hell of a lot. As I was saying before, that switch with Sanji is actually sort of puts him in an easier place to be able to admit that he wants to come back to the crew, because it's a lot easier to have him sort of be this sympathetic character who wants to protect his family, even though they were terrible to him in the past, and he wants to protect them, or he wants to help them even though they've hurt him in the past. Like it's actually kind of like it was with Gin back during Baratier. Like, it's actually easier to get him from that place to wanting to come back to the crew rather than him being delusional with the possibility of staying with Pudding, and then not wanting to return to the crew for that reason because it's too hard to face Big Mom. So I appreciate that like the sort of intricacy of the plot in doing that. I like that Oda did that. Again, with Capone, he is really the wild card in all of this. I think we've all said that at various points, but he has sort of the most opaque character motivations. He's actually become one of the most fascinating characters. Like, does he really have an ace up his sleeve, or is he really just underestimating Mama? Like, it's interesting that a lot of characters seem to be underestimating Mama in this. That I wonder if it's sort of a subtle commentary on being a female pirate. Like, do the people underestimate her more because she's the only female emperor? I mean, could be. Seems like it's happened a couple of times.
Probably. She's always talking about like throwing tea parties. They're probably like, wow, this old bitch.
I mean, I think even her sanity has been put into question many a time, and maybe correctly so. But I think that's why a lot of them underestimate her. I don't like just at least to play devil's advocate about the gender thing. That might be the case. And
I mean, you could argue that makes it cooler too, because then it's like you don't know what she's gonna do.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Sorry, because we had that scene where Praline said that she would choose Aladdin over Big Mom, but have we had the same scene with Capone's wife? Because what if she just like betrays him?
Maybe.
I mean,
what if the baby betrays him? What if the baby gets a gun and just shoots his dad in the face?
That would be the greatest scene in any media ever, I think.
Pez, how could you, Pez? How could you?
Like taking candy from a baby.
It's literally how Who Shot Mr. Burns.
I was just trying to compliment the artistic composition of this chapter. It flows so incredibly well, and each sort of like I refer to them as camera shots because I have a little bit of film studies stuff in my past, but the way it sort of flows naturally, and it creates even more emotion through the way that the sequential art sort of works on you and the shots that he uses. But beyond that, I don't know. I am a little dubious about like Jinbei's sort of flippantly sort of saying that, oh, I saved Peckham's, and
why is like, Jinbei coming in and saving everything and being fine and not having any problems? I feel like he's the Deus Ex Machina of
a little bit,
of this arc.
But that was the other thing I wanted to mention. But other than that, really did enjoy the chapter a lot. I have minor problems with it.
There's a few things we didn't mention that I definitely want to bring up. First, okay, let's assume it's Capone and two other people. That's a whole other discussion. Why Bobbin? Why shoot Bobbin?
Why not?
Because first off, why not?
He's got a hole in the middle of his face. It's basically a target.
Last chapter.
I mean, do they not listen to 105.5 FM? Bobbin in the morning? It's a great channel. No, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, last chapter, he had that big speech about how, I'm going to have to dispose of somebody, and, they're going to see at the wedding, and then now he just gets shot in the face and dies in the middle of the street. Like,
he's the one who got disposed.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the point of this. I think that was sort of a play on what Bobbin did last week, especially because his bounty wasn't really that high, and people were like, what's the whole thing here? Is he like just a joke character? And I feel like he is just there now to just be this throwaway joke character. Poor little Bobbin, man.
Senor Pink dies swimming in the ocean, and Bobbin dies while trying to dispose, and himself gets disposed.
That's right.
I don't know. It does seem a little weird, and I'm sure there's a motivation behind it that we'll find out. Although, on the other hand, Capone, I feel like just like shooting people whenever possible. I was also, I mentioned this, I think, a little bit earlier, reading some of the time skip material, and the Capone getting sucked up in the thing at the very...
What's up with that?
Well, Thank you, yes. And I'm wondering if that is going to at all play any role in this. It might not, who knows. I mean, Yarouge was on the island with lightning, and that never came
And what about
up again.
Eneru? I'm just saying, what about him?
If that's like, I don't think that's where the story's going, but I'm telling you, if Eneru somehow levitated Capone's ship, like right after that time skip, and then we're going to see him as the surprise guest of the wedding, I will lose my shit.
Capone opens his chest, Eneru just floats out.
Pops out with all the
Hello, everybody. I am God, and you will now worship me, and then just start zapping people.
Okay, but versus
Zap.
Zeus.
He would win. Enru would win that. He's been training on the moon. He is Moon Men now. Anyway. I'm going to go with Steven's theory here and say the two figures with Capone are probably someone we would be surprised about. I don't think it's going to be two obvious candidates like Vito and Chiffon, but who the hell knows? It just seems weird that there's three, and he says specifically curse them, and it's driving home that it's multiple people. Maybe it's not even Capone. Maybe it's something else, but who knows? Probably Capone. The other thing I just want to mention that we haven't really touched on, are the Vinsmokes that stupid? That's the question I'm going to pose this week. Are the Vinsmokes that stupid? Roger, are the Vinsmokes that stupid?
Yes and no. I think
you got
yes,
one.
They are that stupid, but the no is that I think Judge has something else up his sleeve. I think Judge himself has some type of backup plan. And I don't know what it is, but I do think, on the whole, yeah, they're just that stupid.
Jill, are the Vinsmokes that stupid?
I think the Sons are so arrogant that it's made them stupid. I don't think they've come up with anything that can actually put up a fight, so they don't realize how outclassed they are and what's going to happen. Judge is arrogant, but he's been through some shit. So I think that if he doesn't know what's going to happen, he at least has a plan for betrayal.
Kelly, are the Vinsmokes that stupid?
I'm going to echo what Jill said. I think the Sons are arrogant and haven't had to go up against anything, so their stupidity comes from arrogance. Judge, on the other hand, I don't think he knows what's going to happen, but I think he's just always expecting betrayal. I think the only Vinsmoke who's not stupid is Reiju.
Well,
yeah.
So far, that's the proof we've seen. The proof in the pudding. Anyway, Ed, are the Vinsmokes that stupid?
In the words of the immortal Marv Albert, yes!
Thank you, Ed. I don't know. I tend to think I'm going to play devil's advocate here because it worked for me last time with pudding. I think they might know that they are being spied on and might be putting on somewhat of an act, or maybe their arrogance is for a reason and they're just that powerful and they don't have to worry about it. Or so they think.
Yeah, that's the thing that I wonder, where it's like, yes, maybe they are that stupid, but they're also like, they fight for a living, and I don't know. I feel like this plan that Pudding has, where she's just going to pull out a gun and they're all just going to stand there while she shoots that, she and everybody else shoots them, is not going to go down that way.
We discussed it at the start of the podcast. Shooting doesn't work, and then Mr. 11 comes in.
He's the minister.
We have Reverend 11 here to read the vows. Jill, what were you gonna say?
Well, I feel like if they are powerful enough to completely save themselves, then it kind of makes Sanji's thing unneeded. I feel like he does have to be in a position where he can save them.
No, I think at this point the Straw Hats are there to crash the wedding. I don't think it's gonna necessarily be just to save them. I don't know. I still like Greg's theory because it's Greg, and he's also known as Skywalker, so I hear.
That's right. That's right.
He's not, guys. He's not. He's going to kill me later. Okay. Why don't we go into the next segment, everyone? You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yes!
Yep.
This is the anime recap for episode 777, To the Reverie, Princess Vivi and Princess Shirahoshi. I'm your host Sam, and today with us we have Ed.
Hello.
And we have Kelly today. How's it going, Kelly?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Doing all right. So the screenplay this week is Shoji Yonemura, episode director and storyboard artist is Katsumi Tokoro, and animation director is Shigefumi Shingaki, who we interviewed for OPP Japan a while back. That was like a couple years now, wasn't it?
That was, I believe, the year before I graduated law school. It was almost 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
When the interview took place, yeah.
Oh, when the yeah. Can't remember.
I mean, it came out like 2.5 years ago, but it's been a long time now. Mm-hmm. But if this episode's any indication, he's getting better at his job. So.
Do you have opinions?
I mean, this was a good, as far as animation was concerned, this was a pretty good episode, I thought.
I thought it was all right. So the title card this week is at 4 minutes and 22 seconds. You could round it down to 4:20 if you wanted to be funny about it.
We're not above that at all.
So the episode opens, and we see the people of Alabasta waving off, their king and their princess. We see Koza and Toto sort of watching them leave. Igaram, who we haven't seen for a while, is getting all worried because Vivi's hanging up in the crow's nest of the ship and sort of enjoying the wind, and like she's just holding her arms out. She's doing the Titanic thing, basically. She's holding her arms out and letting the wind just sort of blow her hair back and all that. She's thinking about the classic X mark on her hand. Like at first, like because they animate it like it's a memory of the X mark, but it just like looks like a faded tattoo, and it's like, man, she needs to get that touched up.
No, but it was always just temporary.
Yeah, it was always just like drawn on.
Which is too bad.
And that kind of brings us into basically just a bunch of like 3/4 of this episode. It feels like is just reanimated Alabasta.
Yeah, and I feel like it should have bothered me more than it did because it was kind of just there and wasting time. But it was like a fun remembrance of like something that I haven't really revisited a lot. So I enjoyed all the beats.
Yeah, I was kind of like, because it always feels weird when they reanimate, especially like the early seasons when it wasn't in like HD and all that. When they reanimate it with the new art style, like there's something that I feel gets lost. Because I feel like the early stuff had a real kind of earthy quality to it that I really miss.
I don't know. The animation quality in general for anime wasn't great in the early 2000s.
Well, I think One Piece has always been hit and miss, but I do think there is something that feels different now. I think there is something that's been lost over time. But anyway, the flashbacks we see the classic like Luffy versus VV fight, quote unquote fight. There's a little slap out.
I felt was sort of called back to in this week's manga chapter.
Yeah, I thought so too. You see Crocodile and Vivi on the roof. I noticed that Crocodile, like the highlights in Crocodile's hair is like distractingly purple. Like it's really, like the purple is really intense. And then just all the usual, Luffy versus Crocodile stuff, the final blow, the Gum Gum Storm. And they redo most of the same animation stuff, like the camera following the fist as it's like flying through the sand. And then obviously the saying goodbye and like raising the X's up and the sign of their fellowship thing. And that brings us back to the present day where Cobra he's a sick old man. He's in a wheelchair.
I had forgotten about the joke about the finding a husband bit.
Yeah.
And I'd really like, oh yeah, that was like a fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Cobra's talking about like basically Vivi's Vivi could probably handle this reverie as the representative of Alabasta herself, but Cobra is determined to ask the government something because his interaction with Nico Robin and the Poneglyphs has him concerned about something about the sort of world state. There's stuff about like Pluton and all that could put the world at danger. So we see Vivi like jumping down from the very high crow's nest. She's like doing flips as she's falling down. And that's when we get that exchange that you were mentioning just before, Ed, where Cobra's like, I got pictures of potential suitors for you, and Vivi's
binders full of them.
Yeah, binders full of them. And Vivi feels like she's being guilted a little bit because he's acknowledging that he's in this like kind of sick elderly state, and he's probably not long for this world. So he's trying to just real quick guilt trip her into getting married. And
I mean, it has only been 2 years. I mean,
right?
Come on.
And so Vivi just kind of like turns to him and winks, like, throw the pictures away. I don't need them. So we cut to. I was really surprised that because every now and then I forget that Crunchyroll uses a lot of the same terminology as the Viz release. So it's like instead of Logtown, it's Rogue Town.
It's Rogue Town, except for the sign immediately after the subtitle that says Log Town.
Yeah, and also their weird way of spelling poneglyphs, but
with 2 F's.
Yeah. So there's a very fancy hotel designed specifically for royalty who is passing through on their way to the reverie. There's a man running this hotel with a whole hotel face, hotel facade.
Right.
And there's a woman named, I assume that the literal Japanese name is a little different than this, but it's Sally isn't Swanette.
I believe we've had Steven explain this before during the manga recaps. I mean, it's Nantoka Net.
Something, right?
Is this the same?
Something that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is it this? Can't even talk. Is this the same spelling that Steven used in the manga?
I think so. Except for like they might not. I'm not sure if there was an apostrophe in there or not, but the idea is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this woman is the wife of the king. I can't remember what the name of the place is.
Goa.
Goa. That's right.
Yeah.
They're the king and queen of Goa. Sally is the wife of our old friend Steli, which was Sabo's like adopted brother from his biological parents. And we don't get to see his face. We just see like the back of his head, and he's like talking. And he's like a normal adult now, as far as I can tell. The surprise that I'm waiting for is that we see Steli's face for the first time, and he's like hyper beautiful. Like he's just like a real like shoujo manga prince looking guy. Compared to like the ugly face he had as a kid.
And if anyone has been watching, the guy who does the voice, his name is Kosuke Toriumi, who was also Naze in Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, and he's been in a bunch of different things.
And Steli is not impressed by the accommodations. It's a not so special, and also there's this weird quirk that Sally has where she's like, "Oh, he really means it's not special." Like everything is it's a constant double negatives. And he's commenting that all it offers is a view of the scaffold where Gold Roger was executed, which you think in this world, of all like the touristy things, like that's a pretty significant one. Can't imagine there's too many things like on that level in the world. So I don't know what he's getting picky about. And this brings us into a montage of all the different kingdoms coming to gather at Marie-Joie or Mary-Joie, or however you want to say it. And the narrator is basically just sort of describing, what the reverie is. We've been talking about it for years now. The narrator mentions that because these are politicians, because these are people who are used to getting their own way by one way or another. Things never go smoothly at this reverie because there's going to be a lot of political drama to be happened as they discuss world issues and create a plan for a quote unquote better world. Among this montage, we see snippets of the Kano Kingdom, which is where Sai and Don Chinjiao live. We see like a guy who like works for them, and he's talking to them, but we don't really see much beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of different people shown in this.
Yeah, some of them are pretty famous. I like the guy with the like clock beard thing.
Yep. Like, I think is it a mustache or a beard? I forget.
I think it was a beard. It was like on his chin.
Yeah.
So
there was an interesting looking woman with the short hair as well.
That was the one people thought was Sanji's mother for a while. Remember?
Oh, I don't remember that. So we head back down to Fishman Island, which is one of the countries that has probably got the most interesting stakes in the reverie, because it's all about moving up to the surface and like repairing relationships between fishmen and humans. And the brothers, the Fukaboshi, Monboshi, Ryoboshi, they're all trying to convince Shirahoshi to go along with them to the reverie. Shirahoshi is, hugging herself. She's crying. She said she wants to wait for Luffy to be the one to take her to the surface because that was the promise that they made. And they're talking. Basically, they want to make sure they bring Shirahoshi because they're worried that if they leave her behind, it'll look like a sign of bad faith that they don't trust the humans. And that brings us to like a clip show of like the end of Fishman Island where they're doing the pinky promise with Shirahoshi. And then that brings us to the final scene of the episode. We're back to the Thousand Sunny. Things aren't going super hot for them as the crew are on their way to Whole Cake Island. They're all very tired and hungry, and there's nobody there to cook for them.
All right, Sam, you gotta do your best to keep your composure.
And Carrot appears. She's just like jumping around in the background before they even really notice that she's there. And Luffy's just like, see, she's got energy. And like, wait, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing? They were all just sort of running Luffy down for like, We're all exhausted because of you. You made us jump off of the elephant, you dick.
So yeah, looks like we've got an extra member of the Sanji rescue team who stowed away on board, and that's how the episode wraps us off.
Yep. Kelly, did you have any other thoughts about the episode?
I didn't mind seeing all of those flashbacks, even though the episode was pretty much all flashbacks, because the scenes were really great. And it's nice to see Vivi again.
It's like a greatest hits album.
Yeah, kinda. Vivi looks great. I like her pink dress.
Yeah, they definitely covered a good amount. Like, they covered a pretty solid amount of Alabasta stuff. Like, it wasn't. They made sure to get all the important parts, basically.
Right.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Stelly, I'm not really. His voice is sort of neutral at the moment, but it's definitely kind of villainous. Like I feel like they go more overboard in the villainy with like treating the hotel staff than they did in the manga. Or maybe it was there and I just don't remember.
I remember them being pretty snobby in the manga.
Although I do like them like backing their way out and running into the wall because they weren't looking. Pretty good.
Ed, you have any final thoughts?
Oh, it was a pleasant enough 20 minutes of television.
Yeah, that's more or less how I feel. I kind of said what I felt about the recap stuff, or the clip show stuff, but it's definitely not a bad episode. It's just like, like I'm a little just ready for things to pick up in pace right now. So
yep. Okay.
All right, that sounds pretty good. You ready to move on to the next segment?
Sure am.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories and then shoot them. But they'll be fine, don't worry. Let's get into the first question here. It's from Andrew. And it's another D&D question. Asking, I know you all aren't huge into D&D, but did you know that there's a group of One Piece voice actors who play D&D on Twitch, and their show is on YouTube as well? I did not. Apparently it's called Critical Role.
I've heard of it.
Oh, you have? Okay, well, Jill. Thank you, Jill. That's why we have you here, to let us know when voice actors are playing D&D.
I have played 3 sessions of D&D in my entire life, but that's all right.
Okay, I have no response. Let's go to the next question. It's from Ben Wild, who said, if Scooby-Doo was in the world of One Piece, do you think he would be a mink or have devil fruit powers? Real question we got.
This is a good question.
No, he's a sandwich that ate the dog fruit.
What, so he's a cannibal?
Oh, man.
Hey,
I
Waffle
love
was a
that.
cannibal. Self-cannibal.
I think
I don't know, either that or Shaggy ate the
Waffles fruit.
weed fruit or something, and he just hallucinates cartoon sidekicks. Something.
You want the Venture Brothers version of this too.
Yeah.
I see what's happening. Also, wow, this is also Ben Wild's on a roll here. Create a cover story title for another member of the podcast. No need for them to be present in our discussion. So we should probably do someone who's not here, because that's the only fair way, because then they can't defend themselves.
Greg meeting Oda again by Nova Skywalker.
I'm gonna say Steve and Frankie double team in the ring against Donald Trump with a giant iron chair.
Sexy.
This is weird.
Wow.
Okay.
No, it'd be awesome. I could see, Steve would be on Frankie's back, and Frankie would be punching Trump in the face, and on the other hand, and then in Steve's hand, he'd have an iron chair, and he'd be whacking Trump with it.
Now, I know that would never be a One Piece cover story, but at the same time, it totally sounds like it would be one of those One Piece cover pages. Like the rhythm of it, even. Steve, Yurko, and Frankie double team to punch Trump in face. It sounds like a...
I'm gonna say Fire Crouch the goat herder on Sengoku's farm.
Why does Sengoku have a farm?
Because he has, well, you know,
Little
yeah,
goat,
for his
yeah.
He
goats.
definitely has his goats. He has his pone goat and or breeding pone goats. Maybe it's like a breed of goat. Anyway, anyone else? Ed or Kelly or no? Okay. Why don't we move on to the next question then? Next one comes from Haich, whose name I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. Oda has always been good at balancing the comedy bits with the serious bits. However, do you guys think that One Piece is less funny now? Granted, we are in the new world, but I can't help but think that the first half of the series was a lot more funny on the whole. Also, speaking of comedy, with the dude and Steve taking a break, does this mean we have to rely on Zach to fill the void with his alternative jokes?
Wow.
His alternative joke, like just basically not a joke, a fake joke.
It's a fake joke. It's not a joke, right? And he does know I'm reading these, right?
No, the jokes are real, but the laughs are fake.
Ha ha ha! Sorry.
Zach is making these jokes based on beliefs that he has that they are funny.
Based on an accumulation of information.
He believes
do
that these
myself.
jokes are funny. Yeah.
Anyway, the question was, do you think One Piece is getting less funny? And I think as the
No.
person who knows jokes... no, go ahead.
Honestly, no. I think they still work in the humor, and it's actually a higher degree of difficulty because of the amount of seriousness involved in sort of the end game of the story.
Yeah, I think maybe it may come off, maybe if not less funny, it may come off a little less like lackadaisical or something, just because a lot of the story developments have necessitated, at least according to Oda, have necessitated like breaking the crew up, so you don't have the entire gang all playing off of each other, and so the humor tends to be more concentrated between specific people. And so I think you could maybe see that as being like, oh, well, it doesn't seem quite as silly as it used to be. But I think the humor is still definitely there. And you know, we've been talking about how this arc in particular is making use of like a serious concept as a counterbalance to provide lots of humor. So yeah, if anything, like at this point, it seems funnier than it has been in a while.
Yeah, I think Dressrosa definitely was kind of like a dip in the comedy department.
Yeah.
And even Zoe, I don't think it was particularly
I was gonna say
hilarious.
I definitely laughed more in Dressrosa than I did in Zoe, because Dressrosa had Bartolomeo and all the weird all the Colosseum people, whereas like Zoe was pretty much just like a solid
adventure
straight
kind
arc.
of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I laughed at like the Garchu thing and at Cat Viper, but other
Cat
than that,
Viper, yes.
Cat
I'm sorry,
Viper was
Cat
funny.
Viper was
Yeah.
great. I think that's why people loved Cat Viper, is because of his Beethoven lasagna song.
Right.
Yeah, I think this arc has been one of the funniest in recent memory. I mean, also having some great dramatic moments, but the last chapter, which was a lot of fun to just recap, I think was because the material was so funny. So I would disagree. I also want to mention, Steven said, or I think it was Steven saying like, it's been a while since the whole crew's been together, or, that makes me wonder, when the hell did the panels at the very end of the chapter take place? Because they've had so little time to all be together in the new world. Like, I have no idea when that's supposed to be. Right?
It was during
maybe the
Strong
descent
World.
into Fishman.
It's canon now.
During Strong World.
Or the descent to Fishman Island, or like, there's just been so few. Or
Punk
fun.
Hazard,
Probably Punk Hazard, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
like somewhere between that.
I mean, obviously,
There's only
the
one
answer
day,
is
I think,
it's-
between Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, right?
It was at some point between, sailing between islands. That's pretty much all you need to know.
Well, all I was
guess.
saying is there's just very little time sailing between islands in the new world so far, which is why I was wondering. We have one more email. It's from Bullet Catcher, which is great. He must be all over One Piece because the bullets are not landing, I'll tell you that much. He has a question for you to theorize based on two assumptions. So this is going to be alternative factual. Let's assume that Luffy or someone else can knock Big Mom out. Let's also assume her power works like Sugar's does. What would happen if Big Mom's kingdom, if she is knocked out and all the souls she's taken are no longer in the vessels she put them in? I think this guy answers his own question. I mean, if we assume both of those things, they would just go back to the original bodies, I assume.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure how catastrophic it would be. It's not like Dressrosa where Doflamingo was hiding this from everyone where they didn't know. I mean, these people obviously know where the homies are coming from, and as far as I can tell, they're not holding up the damn island so it wouldn't like destroy everything.
And we discussed this
Right.
last time. They're taxes. Everyone pays taxes. They don't like
Yeah.
it, but that's what it is.
I am curious though, like the souls that are made up of like when she stole life from Moscato. Moscato's dead. Like the soul's not going to go back to. Maybe it does go back to the rotting corpse of the person or the skeleton of the person. I
Does
don't know.
Zeppo
but, like,
come back to life? Like he's been dead for how
That'd be
many years
weird.
at this point? I don't
don't
see
know.
that happening. I don't think Big Mom is going to be knocked out in that fashion. Probably,
Yeah, I don't
maybe.
think so
but,
either.
I don't know.
This conversation is a good reminder, I think, of why I think we are more engaged in this arc than in Dressrosa, because it's not about like saving all these, nameless mooks who are just living in this place that you have no connection to whatsoever. It's like it's about someone that we do care about as, fans, and the whatever goes on in Whole Cake Island and all the little islands is just, sort of treated as secondary. Like it's not an issue in this arc. It's all about the actual central characters, which I like.
So that's it for the emails. What's going on Reddit, Stephen?
All right, we will start with Typeset, who wonders, any chance that Sanji's healing mask will be used by Luffy to be his body double during the wedding?
No
since
way!
He is invulnerable
no!
to bullets.
Who is this person? Who is this person? You literally just stole my video for Wednesday. No! No! That's literally my video on Wednesday.
He's
That's the
melting.
mask.
Uh-oh.
I'm melting. I'm melting. No!
Well, I was gonna say that I like the idea. I think that's a really cool idea, but that doesn't seem like how that mask worked. Like I thought it was
Yeah, I
just
didn't think so either.
a jelly-like solution that just kind of compressed Sanji's regular face
Right.
into or his swollen face into his regular face. Not that it was literally like, one of those beauty masks, like the JoJo's beauty mask or the Mr. 2 beauty mask that you just put on over your face, and then Luffy has like a special Sanji mask on. I don't think that's how it works.
By the way, Stephen, Typeset proved that something can be killed with a bullet, and that is Roger's YouTube video for this week.
Yeah, his theory. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, that was low hanging fruit right there.
No, of course.
I am making a website called alternativejokes.com at some point. What's next, Stephen?
Nivers has our weekly speculation question.
God.
In the spirit of President's Day, if each of the 1992 presidential candidates, including vice presidential and third-party candidates, so that would be Clinton,
Gore,
George H.W. Bush, right? He was the Republican.
It's
Ross
Clinton,
Perot.
Clinton, Gore, H.W. Bush, and Quayle, and Perot, and that guy no one remembers.
Admiral Stockdale.
Yeah. What am I doing
Okay.
here?
Who am I? What am I doing here?
So, of all of those were princesses in One Piece, which princess would they be?
Now, I want to say first, this is my favorite question we've ever gotten on the Piece Together segment. I also want to mention an apology for all those non-American / those born after the year 1990.
Which I have to imagine is most of our listenership.
Why am I saying 1990? Am I assuming 3-year-olds understood the 92 presidential
Let's see.
election?
I'm going to say just in physical terms, she's technically not a princess, but she probably would have been at some point. I feel like Ross Perot would be Orihime because he was small and had a very spindly neck.
Yeah, it's got to be
The one from Bleach? Who are we talking about?
That's what I thought.
Otohime.
Otohime, sorry.
Hey, guys,
Wow,
I remember.
Ross Perot got suddenly very attractive.
Hold on. Which one of these is Lyndon LaRouche?
I was just gonna say this was the 1992 election, right? So when Clinton, yeah. So I was gonna say George H.W. Bush, I should say, would be Rebecca because he just fucking loses all the time.
I think Clinton would probably be Vivi, yeah. Like very well, she wins first off. Also very compassionate. Like that was his whole. What was it? What was the motto of the
I'll
92
feel your
campaign?
pain.
Yeah, that essentially. I could see Vivi going around saying that. I think Ross Perot is more Shirahoshi.
The big crybaby.
Yeah, kind of. Or maybe
Love me,
that's
Texas.
maybe that's Admiral
Would Al
Stockton.
Gore be?
Which princess is Al Gore? Wow, that's a good
I
question.
don't know. The thing is, there aren't as many princesses in One Piece as you might think. That's the problem.
And yet there are.
There's a lot of princesses in
There are.
One Piece for a pirate.
Is
manga.
there a princess of Witheria Island? Because I feel like that would be Al Gore.
Nami.
Because he cares about the weather and climate control and stuff.
Nami.
Nami, there you
That's
go.
probably Nami, yeah. Okay, we could probably move on.
Yeah,
That was a
I think
very
we've
odd question.
Run that one into the ground. None Easy wants to know, how old is Carrot? Asking for a friend.
We just
Did
got
we get
you'll find out next week. Oh no, we didn't. Oh no,
We didn't.
You're not
No.
gonna find out next week.
All I will say is just remember to divide by 2 and add 7. That's
Gonna double check, but I don't think it was in there.
mhm. So the next will be Rive of Discard, who says, what do you guys think of Joy Boy's theory that the ancient kingdom is Libertalia? Joy Boy has a theory? Is this
so he's
a...
not- YouTuber?
YouTuber.
Yeah, Joy
Oh,
Boy-
okay,
Joy Boy
okay,
Theory is
all
a
right.
YouTuber. Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
No, I like Steven's interpretation.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
The Poneglyph is just theories about One Piece.
I can't wait to find Roger's bases. Poneglyph. It's gonna
Yeah,
be great.
right,
It's
right.
gonna be great.
So personally, I think it's pretty likely that Oda was influenced by the legendary pirate Utopia, but doubt he would go so far as to use the actual name. Anyways, thanks for the wonderful work you're doing. Can't thank you enough for using timestamps on YouTube, I guess. So yeah, Libertaria
welcome.
is the what is that?
It's where all the Ayn Rand fan pirates go.
It's the magical pirate paradise that you discover in the new Uncharted game. Too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was gonna say
Is it? Okay.
it's extremely advanced, apparently.
There's also an
they,
Archer episode, I think.
That is interesting, I guess. I don't know how meaningful that would be in terms of like, the present day of One Piece, but I guess it depends on, how deep he goes into the backstory. But I think that's a cool concept, for sure. Even if it's not the ancient kingdom, I could see that, popping up at some point.
Have we had an island or a town yet that was like run by like pirates for pirates?
Yeah,
yet? 'Cause
Jaya.
I've always thought that was fun.
Jaya
What? Jaya?
basically is that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
It's like the Pirates' Paradise. I think they called it something like that, didn't they?
It's the Fubu Island for us by.
Yeah, exactly. They
Fubu Island. There you go. I do want to mention before we get into since someone mentioned timestamps, that's I love talking about timestamps, guys. They're available on YouTube, but we also
He's not lying.
we also put them on SoundCloud and the site, but we also have chapters if you listen on iTunes or anywhere that supports that. So you could skip, if you don't like this segment, you can skip to the next one or whichever segment. We hope you don't, but you can, and we try and make it nice and easy for you to listen to. So we're happy. Discard that you appreciate that. Since I think that's enough with timestamps. I don't know why anyone would bring that up. Anyway, please.
So let's see. Savage Driver asks, originally everyone speculated Germa 66 was going to be the villain in this arc, and Big Mom was going to somehow aid Luffy. Now it's clear Big Mom is going to be the main villain in this arc. Do you think the roles are going to switch where Germa is going to end up aiding the Straw Hats? We had a couple questions about this, just kind of touching base. What do you guys think about who is going to be the real villain of the arc? And I think, for one thing, you got to say that a new challenger has appeared.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I say Capone and whatever faction he's working with is the real, I guess you'd call them, enemy. I think Big Mom and Pudding. The thing is, Pudding might be with Capone. It's extremely confusing. I'm going to wait until Roger's video comes out.
Well, I mean, my video's been spoiled already. My video was literally all about.
Yeah, you
the
know
mask.
it now, Zach.
So,
never
there you
mind.
go.
I disagree
Yeah.
with that theory, Roger.
Yeah. I
yeah.
did mention, though, to be fair, I did mention in a video that I think Capone and Pudding are working together.
I
After we
agree
found out
with
Pudding
that.
was evil.
Yeah, that I agree with.
I want it to be true. I think that's it's a great power couple.
Yeah, maybe it's not really Chiffon's baby.
Well, I just thought it was weird that like her Jello looks like one of Capone's like gang members.
Mm-hmm.
Like her little Jello guy has one of those fedoras and he's smoking a cigar, and it just seems I don't know. It just seems too odd.
It's very odd. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good question. I still don't know who's gonna be the real enemy at the end. And I don't think we're gonna leave on bad terms with Big Mom. I stand by that. And I don't think we're gonna leave on bad terms with the Vinsmokes. Although not on good terms. I just don't think on
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky because, like, literally, just in the manga recap, we did are the Vinsmokes really this dumb, crew survey thing? And the last time we did that was right before Oda did the Pudding, is evil reveal. So I feel like he could be setting us up for another turnaround where, the Vinsmokes are actually way more capable than they seem, sort of thing. I don't know.
Oda
he's
hasn't
doing it
done
really
this,
well.
Yeah, he hasn't done this many plot twists in a while, so I'm looking forward to seeing some good ones, hopefully. Maybe my expectations are too high, but Water 7 felt like the last time I was this, like, on edge about what's going to happen next. Maybe Shabari, but anyway, what's next?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go down to Amiibo Hunter, who wants to know, what is the Straw Hat's biggest mistake? Personally, I'd say Impel Down. Nothing was gained, really, and Luffy lost his lifespan. Blackbeard gained a larger crew. Magellan isn't Warden anymore, and the world government is much more aware of Luffy and his family ties. The only positive is the alliances Luffy made.
That's a huge positive. And Jinbei, guys.
Jinbei. What are you?
Jinbei.
Yeah,
Jinbei's worth everything.
I agree with Jill. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd traded Jinbei for an ace.
We never would have gotten Ivankov.
Yeah, Ivankov's great. We got Bon Clay in like his best and greatest form, and the return of some like amazing characters.
Crocodile.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess more in a strategic sense rather than like a reader, sentiment sense.
Jinbei.
Yeah.
And the revolutionaries too. I mean, that we haven't seen them a lot since then, but Ivankov and Inazuma, they're going to become really important once the revolutionaries get back into the story.
Yeah, I mean, Sanji would have been screwed if they weren't there.
Yeah.
So if it's not Impel Down, what do you think was the biggest mistake? In the sense of like, well, I don't know, because the other thing is it doesn't seem that much like it was a mistake. It's more that it ended up hurting more than it helped or something. In other words, like, which did they come out worst in?
They gained nothing from the Davy Backfight arc as much as I like it. Like, there's nothing gained there.
Is it weird Is it weird to say? I mean, plot wise, it makes sense, but Marineford, Luffy kind of lost more than he gained personally. But at the same time, I think he grew.
He got Jinbei.
He already got Jinbei and Impel Down, guys. I mean, he did gain a lot. I think he gained a lot of respect around the world and emotionally, but I'm sure he would not want to relive that if he did not have to.
Yeah.
Trying to think of.
Yeah. They don't really come out like behind in arcs. That's the thing. Like, it's part of the shonen charm is they always have to emerge triumphant and with better than ever before.
Shabari Part 1, I guess, but that had to happen too. Like, it's hard to like separate one of these and say that sucked.
Luffy going inside the snake.
I was gonna say I take back the Davy back thing because I remember that Luffy gained an afro and that was pretty dope.
That's true.
But then he lost
Accurate.
it, so it's kind of.
That's right.
It was the friends they made along the way. Whitebeard Beppo has an interesting comment that Judge didn't have it in him to kill Sanji when he was just a child, and now Sanji can't leave his family to die even though they are rotten to the core.
Yes.
There's a lot of good parallels happening.
Yeah. Let's see. Fierce Alchemist has some more Capone comments. We know from this chapter that Bobbin was attacked with a gun. If it's true that Pudding and Capone are working together, it seems likely that Pudding has given him some of those special guns they plan to use against the Vinsmokes. I have a theory that at the moment in the wedding when everyone is supposed to shoot them, Capone will unleash the army inside himself, armed with all those special guns, and shoot Big Mom at point-blank range. Doubt that would kill her, but surely even one of the 4 emperors would be damaged by an attack like that. What do you guys think?
It's cool.
Good theory.
Maybe she'll grab the tomate box and throw it at them, and it'll explode. And it's just
I don't think she's
pure
giving that
chaos.
up for anything. She wants to open that box way too much.
No. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's something is afoot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was wondering how Capone thought he could even like best Big Mom, because as far as we know, as what have we seen, Capone, like, he's strong, but his powers are just like a bunch of dudes inside of him.
Yeah.
So like you have to have something more to be able to beat an emperor than just numbers and weapons. So I'd be really interested if it was like the special guns or some kind of improbable weapon that it will somehow like directly go against her powers for some reason, because they have to have a trump card. There's no way he'd be that stupid to go up against her otherwise.
Yeah.
Right. It would seem like a waste of a story development to like build up this plotting that he's doing, and then it turns out to be completely useless. Like it has to have some stakes to where the story goes.
While we're on the topic of the Vince smokes, can I just ask you guys a question? Like, I'm going to pose a piece together question.
Okay.
Do you guys think any of the Vince smokes have devil fruit powers?
No.
Well, we know
No.
Yanji doesn't.
Reiju, maybe.
Yanji was in the water. Reiju definitely does have a...
No,
Devil
it could be
fruit.
just her enhancement, right?
But like they didn't mention you think as a child they'd be like, by the way, your daughter has moth powers. Like that's never
Suck the
mentioned.
poison out of. Yeah.
I think
Like,
Reiju almost certainly has a devil fruit power. Yeah, and Yanji almost certainly does not. The other two are up in the air, but we know one has fire and one has electricity powers from what we were kind of seeing, getting very big hints about.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
Do you think
like,
that's gonna?
yeah.
You mentioned that. And now I'm like theorizing on the fly. Maybe Ichiji and Niji with the fire and electricity thing are gonna take on Prometheus and Zeus.
Ooh.
Ooh. That's cool.
Now I should make a video about that. There
That-
you go.
Yeah.
Now that I
And then
You
watch.
screwed me over.
What, that
earlier,
leaves
don't worry.
Yanji the wench against Napoleon.
Winch, not wench.
he's a winchy winch.
That's funny.
I
No,
really,
the
I
main
really
reason-
like that voucher. Yeah.
Yeah, the main reason I asked is because there's been this theory that's been going around about Judge potentially having some type of like bird power. Have you guys seen this at all?
No.
Because of the Garuda thing.
Yeah, with the wings. When we see in that one flashback of like the comic, we see that there's like a character who looks
Oh,
like
you're
they're
right.
flying,
Yeah.
and then
Oh.
when he was doing the flips in the air during his fight with Sanji earlier on, like there are just a lot of theories about him having some type of.
Well, those
like-
were the shoes he
bird
was
power.
wearing, I think.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, he may
But,
also have a power. That's the crazy thing. Germa has the technology to make it possible to make them stronger, better, faster. But they could also have devil fruit powers on top of that. And hockey. It's like, it's another variable.
Hockey.
There's always hockey. There's always hockey. What's next, Steven?
Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down a bit. SS Luffy wants to know: am I wrong, or has Robin never had a one-on-one fight in the entire series? I don't count her quick fight on Skypia, as that wasn't even a challenge. She did also have a fight with the immortal bird Pell in the anime, but I'm not sure if that's canon. Also, she was a bad guy then. Why is this? Robin's power is so cool. She should have had a proper fight, at least in Dressrosa, which was the exclusive arc for that half of the crew.
Well, you can not count the Skypia one, but that technically counts. It was a
That's
fight.
a good one.
Yeah.
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 Um,
I mean, I guess you could say that it's still kind of disappointing that that is the highest profile guy, since it was just a random schmo who, did not pose a threat to anyone other than that, one scene. So,
Yeah.
he was destroying the ruins. I like that.
Mhm.
I like Robin's resolve in that fight. I don't like the person she is fighting, which I guess is a good
Right.
thing if you're fighting them.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the time being kind of disappointed that she wasn't going to be the one to fight Diamante, but then I was like, oh, it makes much more sense that Kyros is going to get revenge. Like, of course it's going to be Kyros
I
versus
don't
Diamante.
care about Kyros.
No Karos.
I don't Karos. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Karos.
Thank you, Jill. It's disappointing. I agree with this listener.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we get to Wano, maybe.
Maybe
I don't know.
she's just not like gonna be a character who gets one-on-one fights. I mean, she's still super crucial to the series. For those who haven't read the One Piece Connection on OnePiecePodcast.com, most of it revolves around things Robin has talked about or, revealed. It's the main parts of the series are Robin related. And you know what? That's pretty cool, I think.
I'm trying to think too, like, so, as an analog, Nami, what are the last, like, I know she fights in Alabasta when Robin was a bad guy, and then she fights in Enies Lobby one-on-one with Khalifa when Robin is kidnapped. So has she had any other fights? Like,
I mean, I'd argue that she's just as important to the Cracker fight as Luffy was, because if not for Nami,
Agreed.
Luffy wouldn't have been able to beat Cracker.
Right.
That's not really a one-on-one fight, but yeah,
No,
I mean,
yeah.
I think she's been more crucial in fights. I think Robin's kind of been more in the periphery. I'll put it that way.
yeah.
When it comes to fighting.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll go with one more question from Reddit. Don Lufione, do you think Oda forgot about Bartolomeo's suitcase? After Dressrosa, it never got mentioned again. I'm going to say I forgot about Bartolomeo's suitcase. What?
I
What is
still don't know what you're
Bartolomeo's
talking
suitcase?
about.
Ed, really?
So this is the suitcase that Bartolomeo was carrying that he said like
At the Coliseum.
was going to hold the secrets, in the Coliseum. I think that was answered already, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure
No,
that
we
was
theorized.
the pictures. Wasn't it like the pictures of the Straw Hats, and that like he wanted them to sign it?
I mean, that's what I was hoping, but
No, I
almost
don't
that
think
was answered at some point.
I don't think that
I'm
was
gonna-
answered. No, I'm pretty
I'm gonna
sure
look
that
this
wasn't.
up.
Please look it up. If you're
Yeah.
right, that's cool that there is an answer. I don't think there has been an answer for that. And it kind of drives me nuts.
It's like it was a prop for him to set up that Bartolomeo, was in cahoots or like, working with or for someone in particular. And then we found out that the person was Luffy and the prop was completely forgotten. That it was meant to be something.
Well, I'm trying to remember, why was he in Dressrosa in the first place?
to get the fruit for Luffy.
Oh, but was it like advertised before on other islands? Like how did that work?
I assume so. Wasn't that why they were
All
there?
there.
I guess
to
so.
fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, I mean,
maybe
if
the
it's-
suitcase was just for the fruit, but wasn't it like handcuffed to his hand?
Well, if it was, if it's like the suit, the magical suitcase like it was in Pulp Fiction, that just means it's a MacGuffin. It literally serves no purpose except as a plot vehicle.
Maybe it's a Pulp Fiction reference.
I'm
there
finding
you go.
nothing except just fan theories.
Yeah,
But people are saying like maybe he was gonna take the fruit back in the random suitcase.
I mean, that Occam's razor wise, that's probably what it was for.
Yeah.
But I don't think that definitely has not been answered. I'm now more convinced. Almost definitely. Anyway,
I like to think it's filled with figures. Just carries it around it all
I
the
feel
time.
like someone should
There you
just
go.
ask that as an SBS question. That seems like a really good SBS question.
I'm sure someone has asked it, but instead he will answer questions about farting, which is important because that was important in this chapter.
Yeah. I feel like it's a significant enough detail that he would feel a little too embarrassed to give like a Minatomo-san like style joke answer about it and admit that he forgot. So I feel like if he did indeed forget, that's just going to remain a mystery. That's my
Okay.
guess.
So that's everything you got for Reddit this week.
Yeah, we
Steven?
can move on.
Oh, you're sure there's no other gems?
We've been doing it for a while.
Okay, that's true. Ed, it's time to.
Peace the tweet.
What a well done piece, the tweet, Ed. What do we got this week?
Yeah, it's time to piece the tweet. The first question comes from QuipQuest. It says, "Am I the only one who thinks it would have been more entertaining if Wanda and Sicilian went to Whole Cake Island instead of Carrot and Pedro?" Yeah, you might be the only person who thinks that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for the podcast,
Pedro, I'm very happy about. Carrot, I like. I want to offend Sam, who is now hunting me down with a knife.
but Carrot's her artistic abilities alone kind of justify it.
I'm going to say
mean,
this. I wish there were more. I wish there were more minks, but
If I
I
had
want
to
Master. What was his name? Pastor Yomo, the sheep who like Nami used to sleep on.
or Mr. Miyagi or Dr. Miyagi. Was it Dr. Miyagi?
yes.
Dr. Miyagi.
I'm mixing it up with something else.
Or Chopper's little girlfriend. What's her name?
No, that would be very
Noki.
distracting. We don't need a Sanji in this arc about Sanji. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yep. Next one comes from DJ Hollywood, who asks. He sends a picture of a message.
This is not how you tweet. Tweets are in 140
This
characters.
is an email, basically. Hey, One Piece Podcast. Don't know if you have been getting my emails, but for this past chapter 856, we see that Bobbin falls and can no longer go after Sanji. Sanji's kick did do some damage, but he was pretty much okay, and not that messed up last chapter. Since there was a gunshot, and then we see Bobbin cursing whoever has shot him, do you think that Capone has finally started to move? I think, yeah, that's pretty much what we all kind of agreed on that during the manga recap.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
I still don't know why, though, and that's going to drive me nuts. I mean, I guess we'll find out, but why?
Next one comes from It's Aura, who asks us to please name the Straw Hats from strongest to weakest, including Jinbei, please. Thank you.
Does she think he or she think we're Oda? Like that?
You guys want to try this? I mean, Luffy obviously is the
Luffy's
strongest.
1. Zoro
Zoro is-
was 2. Sanji is
Is
probably.
Jinbei
Where would you
number
put
3?
Jinbei?
Number 3, maybe.
I'd put Jinbei 4.
All right, then followed with
I mean, that's just
Frankie,
me.
Chopper,
I-
Usopp, Robin, Nami?
Where's Brooke?
Or Brooke?
Oh, Brooke.
No, Brooke I think is somewhere right in the middle. Probably below Frankie and above.
Yeah.
And Chopper?
Do you think Chopper or Usopp are stronger? I think that would actually be an interesting fight.
I mean,
Chopper
are we
Yeah.
versus Usopp.
Yeah.
I don't know. Usopp's stats are maxed out in one area. Like he's
Lying.
kind of he has weak spots, but he can excel from long range.
I think Chopper he's like quick, strong in a short period of time, as you said. I think Usopp could endure a lot more.
Yeah.
He could definitely endure pain, as we have seen many a time. So can Zoro, but
Right. Well, yeah. That's why he's number 2.
yeah, I think Jinbei would definitely, if he's just a regular member of the crew, would probably make the trio quartet. Yeah.
Okay.
What's next?
Next one comes from 07 Naaman. Do you think the One Piece anime opening will include new scenes from Whole Cake Island?
We were discussing this, I think, before the show, figuring out when the next opening is going to be. The Weekend came out in late June 2016.
I don't know if they're gonna like add more to the current song before they get a new song. I'm not sure.
Well, are we going to have a filler arc? Has this been confirmed whether or not we are? I figure we're going to get a couple episodes of just...
I don't think we are because they sort of the last anime episode was kind of a lot of filler. It was more or less like a clip show.
Here, let
It
me
was like
check
Vivi
the-
and then a recap of Alabasta and Shirahoshi and a little recap of Fishman Island. So I think there's going to be some padding like that, but I don't think there is a filler arc.
Here, let's see the episode titles. We could mention them here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is To the Reverie, Rebecca and the Cherry Blossom Sakura Kingdom. So, okay, we're going to have a lot of... So it's not really filler. We're just going to have a lot of time wasted.
Recap.
And then, spoiler alert, March 5th is going to be Kaido Returns, The Worst Generation Threatened. How much about Kaido? Wasn't that like half a chapter?
No, that was pretty sizable because it was the stuff with Kid and him giving his speech and then him crying with his subordinates and the reveal
yeah.
of it. Well, I won't say that. Yeah, never mind.
I don't know. They're not gonna get spoiled if they're listening to the piece together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So his Oni club, like where he hit the guy with the Oni club. So
Is that a spoiler?
yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
Is that like
I
a
mean,
big
well,
spoiler?
some people think it is. I don't know. People are weird about spoilers,
Well,
and I'm
you're
also
in the-
3 vodkas into this podcast, so we'll see.
Well, now we know one of the drunk people here. Who's the second? You win nothing if you find out.
If you follow us on Twitter, you already know the answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
what's next?
Our very own Brian Newton, who wanted to be on the show this week, but he unfortunately could not make it.
Because he was helping democracy. Anyway, please.
That's
continue.
right.
Yes.
He nominates Bedge for Straw Hat Ally, tipped off Jinbei, dealt with Bobbin on this the day of Madonna's wedding.
You
He
read
didn't
that
ask me to do the voice, but it's a full service podcast here.
perfectly.
Next one comes from Keith Hibbs. Where's Luffy going to get a tux in so little time? He's going to a wedding. I mean,
There's definitely, I said this last week, costume change gonna happen. Also, just about Brian's thing, I love the idea of Beige messing things up, but also being on Luffy's side. It's like a weird twist on what we've been talking about. And I think most of the supernovas so far have helped Luffy in some respect that we've met in the New World so far. So I guess
The supernovas look out for each other.
Being in an alliance, it's like being friends. It turns out that he's like Homer and President Ford. Like, oh, suddenly these guys get along great with Luffy.
What's next? Yeah.
Quick Quest asks another question. If Funimation were to dub the rest of the movies and or specials, would you want them to release them by popularity or production order? No, popularity.
Popularity.
That's really the only thing where I would say that for. Like, any of the canon material, obviously you want it done in order, but
you don't need to see
man.
movies 1 through 4 before or seeing or whatever it is, before seeing
4
the
wasn't
next
that
one.
bad.
For the first couple of
4 is great.
movies.
I like 4 a lot. I like 6 a lot.
6, please.
6.
I
6
haven't
is the
seen
best.
9, but I hear very good things. Whenever those come out from Funimation, I'll say right now, we will do commentaries on those, or we'll at least talk about them, because we haven't gotten to do like full reviews of the older movies, and we're waiting for Funimation to do it. If you're listening, which you probably, I don't know, actually.
They
You
are.
should be
For sure
listening.
they're listening.
Okay.
All right, next one comes from friend of the podcast, Sai, and Twitcher Toonami Recapper. Oda, how many times is Sanji going to have to cry this arc? How many times?
Or how many times is he going to have to put his hand over his face to make it look like he's not crying when we see the snot coming out of his nose?
He only has one eye to cry from, so it's gonna happen twice as much.
David Wolf asks, what do you think, he asked the unanswerable question, what do you think is Capone's true motive for allying himself with Big Mom?
Let's go to the next one. Who knows?
Says 16 asks, who shot Mr. Bobbins? I couldn't possibly solve this mystery. Can you?
Who shot Mr. Bob?
It was Mr. 11.
It was the
Minister of
baby!
He-
It was the
Mr.
baby!
Oh, yeah,
11,
Pez, totally.
Minister of Heaven.
It was the baby.
Pez,
Mr.
Minister of
Heaven.
Heaven.
Oh no.
Wait, what's Pez's name? What's he the minister of?
Pez, the minister of fezzes.
Mr. Pez.
We're getting lazy.
Okay, next one comes from Chris Kuzmich. What people do you think Capone has helping him? Because surely it can't only be his crew. Shiki? Crocodile?
Bonnie.
Yeah,
and
Eneru.
Eneru.
That's
Mr. 11?
Yeah.
Oh, what if Eneru does come in this arc? Can we
Normally
call it?
Normally I
Lose
wouldn't
my
have
mind.
asked that question, but just because the Shiki.
What if Zed comes in?
Shows
Yeah.
up in this. I don't even know what I would do. Like,
I just heard you say, Zach was just like, what if Zed comes in? And I just imagined the wedding, and right as I could see the image in my head of Sanji lifting the veil and just hear, la 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 la.
You reminded me how much I love that song, and also how Zed is dead, and he'd have to like his good arm comes out from the grave and then grabs the arm from the.
Zed's dead, baby.
Sorry,
You know who else is dead too? Ace and Corazon.
Mr. 11.
Right?
well, we have now spoiled everything. Enjoyed the piece together segment. Do we have any
We
more
almost
questions?
made it all the way through. The last one, Stacy Chen asks, wouldn't you think Germa had enough power to take North Blue? Why share the power? And do you have guesses as to who the foe is? Their foe in taking over North Blue, I think she's referring to.
I just assume it's everyone because taking
Yeah,
over
all the countries.
It's North Blue.
Yeah, it's a whole sea. It's a sizable. I mean, I can't think of a. I guess the British
even East
Empire
Blue has
holding-
people like Stelly, so
It's like the former British Empire, holding on to all of what they owned. It's gonna have to stop at some point, no matter how powerful you might be.
Their foe's basically the Marines too. I mean, that's like the whole setup in the stories with them. It's like they're up against the Marines in the comic
But
books.
but it's
Yeah.
weird because they're also a recognized government by the.
They're a kingdom.
Yeah, they're a kingdom in the world government, so that's a little confusing. It can't actually be their enemy. Maybe we don't know the history of Germa, and the present and how that differs from the past, and at what
Right.
point they owned all of the North Blue and what point they didn't rule over it. There's a lot up in the air that we do not know. So I think with that out of the way, we're done. And why don't we round off the show?
Yes.
あの大空に届くまで I believe 一つの明日
This has been episode 457 of the One Piece podcast. Next week, there is no chapter, but we have some amazing stuff coming at you. Roger, you're going to be sticking around with us, and Steven and Ed, you're going to be around as well to go through volume 84, the SBS, and all the cool little goodies wrapped up in that volume.
Where's Pandaman? You'll find out.
You certainly will. So check that out. Next week, we also have the conclusion to our villains recap, villains rankings, which include the rankings from Ed, Alex, and Joey. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We also have our Warlords ranking, or as you may call them, Warlords, because that's what they're called. And our henchmen rankings, which is going to be a lot of fun and mostly nonsense. So please tune in for that. That'll be a lot of fun as well. So just because the manga's off does not mean the One Piece podcast is off. We have a lot of cool stuff coming at you. That'll be next week. And we will be back with our manga recap and anime recap the following week. So, you can tune in then as well. But I think that's going to conclude us for now. Roger, where could people find you?
Sure. People could find me on YouTube as Rogers Base, ROGERSBASE. You could find me on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram. And hey, if you like video games and you want to see some vlogs about my everyday life, I am getting the Nintendo Switch this week. So there will be some unboxings and gameplay videos of the Nintendo Switch on my second channel, which actually just launched today. Game and Vlog is the name of that. And that's actually linked through my Rogers Base YouTube channel. So yeah, look for me there.
Jill, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at PiratessUnluck, and monthly on the One Piece podcast, putting out editorials and other stuff. Yeah, sorry, my cat's here. I've lost my train of thought.
It happens. It definitely happens. Kelly, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Karuri.
And speaking of what's going on, before we finish with that, there's a bunch of editorials, I think, coming out soon. I think Kyle has one coming out soon. So keep an eye out for that. Steven, where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Translatosaurus.
And Ed,
That's it.
Where could people find us?
You are Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. Festizio, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm going through the 100 Great Anime Films. It's ranked by Pace Magazine. I've been slacking off a little lately, but I think I'm going to go old school and watch my my really old-looking DVD copy of Panda the Magic Serpent, which I think was the first full-color anime feature film produced by Toei Animation, actually, back in the 50s. So I'll watch that tomorrow night. But as for the podcast, you can find us at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. Be sure to support us. Get great benefits from our Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Reddit.com/r/OnePiecePodcast. Leave us some piece together there. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. I may have said that already. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on Google Play, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
And that phone number is 347-497-MAGI.
Maji.
That phone number again, 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, your comments, your theories, and your ways to stop a bullet. Great episode today, you guys. I do also want to mention that you could buy t-shirts and swag and more on our store. You just go to onepiecepodcast.com, click the store link at the top of the site. We had a request for a 105.5 FM Bobbin in the Morning t-shirt, and we will do our best.
I was going to say, is there one on the store right now? Because I will buy it immediately.
We have to design it first and figure out how we would do that. So, but it's a really good idea from a YouTube fan of ours, so thank you. I don't have your name in front of you, but thank you. And I think that concludes us this week in the One Piece podcast. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And we'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes! Yes!